Hello everybody, Jeffrey McAvoy here. Welcome to part 2 about how I did the clutch change on my Land Rover Discovery I 3.5 V8. Now as you can see, I got my high-tech crankshaft locking tool right there, which is just a piece of 3x3 I believe, I don't know. But yeah, the clutch on this thing was so worn that pieces came falling out. I'd never seen that before. I've seen, my share of worn clutches, but none as bad as this. As you can see, there's dust falling, and yeah, it was quite amazing. In fact, it was so bad that you could change the gears with the engine running and actually not go anywhere, which kind of defeats the purpose. Here it comes, full of dust, and that's what it looked like. The friction material had actually disintegrated. I'd never seen that before. It's quite impressive. You must admit that there's quite a bit of torque in that thing, but to go through a clutch like this, it must have been on its last legs. Might have been fully original, I don't know. But see how fine the dust is? It actually, drew out the place where my spanner was. So yeah, I had to be extra careful not to breathe in that crap. And well, yeah, had to vacuum everything. I'm really glad that I laid a board down on the floor. Otherwise that would have been, on my driveway, which I wouldn't have liked, because that stuff stains. Replaced the clutch release bearing, which came with the clutch kit, lubricated everything. Replaced the little plastic pin that holds it in place. And definitely cleaned and degreased the flywheel. Now, as I wanted to get this thing back on the road ASAP since I just got the car, I left it as it is. You can definitely tell that this flywheel has been working really hard. You can tell that it's all blue, and it had some very light cracks in it, so it could have done with a light skim, I suppose, but I just left it as it is, and use it as it is, really, pretty much. Now this clutch is really heavy. Use the locating pin first to lay it down, and then pop a bolt in there. But it's heavy as can be. So be extra careful with your fingers. And since I didn't remove the gearbox entirely, there was no room to use a centering tool. Usually I would eye it up pretty much, or use a centering tool and have a bit of time to kill, but eyeing it up usually works. In this case, I didn't have enough space to take a look at the center of the clutch mechanism, so I devised a technique which absolutely worked to center the clutch, and that's to actually, you can see it up there on the upper right of your screen, and using a vernier caliper, just measure around the circumference of the clutch mechanism and get an equal distance in between the clutch plate and the outer of the clutch mechanism, and that worked fine. I actually laid the clutch down on the mechanism before putting it up there and measured, I believe, 30 millimeters. So that's what I was looking for on the vernier gauge, was to have 30 mil all around. And just finger tighten the bolts as you go, and then relocate the clutch, by pushing it gently inwards with a screwdriver, without obviously taking care not to damage the friction material, and just looking for 30 millimeters on the circumference here of the mechanism, which turned out to be working fine. And as you go, lightly tighten all the surrounding bolts and measure again, making sure that you get the 30 mil. In this case it was 30 mil. It would work with any clutch. You just have to lay it down first and measure so that you know what you're looking for. So I got this first go, so I'm very happy about that. It takes considerably more time than if you were using a centering tool, quite obviously, but in this case there wasn't the room to do so. So this method is a working alternative. Here's another view, just centering the clutch with a screwdriver, lightly tapping it in place, then measuring, then tightening a bit more. Then turning the flywheel, taking a measure somewhere else, looking for that 30mm, then tighten it down further, and so on and so forth until you get all the bolts tightened down onto the flywheel. Make one last measure, looking for that 30mm, and got that all around the place, so I was very happy with that. Once that was done, I finally torqued down these bolts in a crisscross pattern to, I believe, 30 Newton meters, and that was it, pretty much. Make a last check before tightening with the mirror here to get a visual on the center of the clutch, and it looks pretty damn well centered. So I was very happy with that. So he torqued everything down, marked the bolts, painted the date, and wrote my initials on there for the next mechanic. Hopefully it won't be me. This is a heavy job. So yeah, cross all your fingers and pray that it goes well. In this case, it went well first go. I was very happy about it. So thought I'd share the method. Now, as you can see, this is some heavy stuff. So and I was working alone. So this is why I didn't remove the gearbox completely, because it's some heavy work, and I just wanted to get the car working again so I could use it. And there it is, pretty much. When you go so far, it means it's properly centered. You can just continue. So what I did to help me in achieving this was to get a good old ratchet strap down the jack supporting tool that I made and the front differential, and ratcheted the gearbox onto the engine. Now, the most difficult part in this was, in fact, to center the locating dowels on the bell housing. So you need to rotate slightly the gearbox to achieve this, and that was it, pretty much. So once that was done, just bolt everything back together, and yeah, from here on, you know, installation is reversal of removal. So that was pretty much it. And then suddenly the camera died, and so I just ran in and gave it a charge. While it was charging, I bolted everything back together, and here's the result. Everything works. And that's pretty much it. Now, as I said in the beginning, this is not the universal way of doing things. If you have another method that you would like to share, by all means, let us know by leaving a comment in the comment section. It would be highly appreciated. And don't forget to drop a like, and I'll be catching you all in the next video. Hopefully it'll be about some green laning or getting stuck in the mud somewhere. And either way, I do appreciate your interest in what I do. It's what motivates me to take the time to edit these videos. It is very time consuming, and so I'm really glad that you like them, and I'll be catching you all in the next video. Thanks again, guys.